Joining us now on the programme is Ahmed Bayram, media advisor for the Norwegian Refugee Council, joins us now from Amman in Jordan. Thanks very much for joining us on the programme. So some aid has gone in, 5 trucks, described by the UN as a drop in the ocean. I mean, does 5 trucks make any difference?
Probably not. No more than, a gesture, I would say, at this point. We have been saying that the gates have to open, that aid has to gush in. Obviously, Israel treats this as, as they said, in diplomatic and practical terms, which for us, is worrying, really, because we look at this from a humanitarian catastrophe point of view. What's happening in Gaza needs probably, the starvation, the level of starvation, malnutrition amongst children, the wasting amongst children, people surviving on one meal. You need hundreds and hundreds of lorries making their way into Gaza every single day. There's no announcement about fuel, for example. All that we have heard is about, obviously, baby food, very essential, very important. And maybe in the coming days, some support for food kitchens and some support for bakeries. Nothing about assistance to families. So yeah, it's not very reassuring, I have to say, and the diplomatic pressure that has yielded, Israel backing down on opening the Kerem Shalom crossing has to continue so that we have more crossings and more aid arriving into Gaza.
So if there were to continue to be 5 trucks a day, or maybe even double it, 10 trucks a day, is that going to stave off famine, or is famine inevitable, do you think?
No, it's you can't quantify it. You have to say that, we commit, as Israel, has to announce that it commits to opening the gates to unlimited amounts of food and medication, which the people of Gaza need. 2 million people. Imagine any country in the world having their borders closed for 80 days. What's going to happen? People are bartering cooking oil for nappies and lentils, for rice online. They're going on social media trying to find anything on the market that they can. Averting a catastrophe at this point will require, the effort of the entire world, I have to say, to put that pressure. It seems that Israel is not listening to anybody except for probably a few of the capitals around the world. So I think at this stage it's very important to stress, that whatever you bring in has to be sustainable and has to last. You can't switch it on and off whenever you want. Israel has been doing this all this time.
So if the situation doesn't change, is famine inevitable?
That's what the forecast says, and I think even in the worst, case scenario, if you look at numbers, compare numbers before the blockade and after the blockade, the numbers have soared, and now you are looking at a scenario where the entire population is on the verge of famine-like conditions. We see it every day in our work. We see people, children drinking, contaminated water, dirty water, surviving on, infested, flour with which they make bread. These are all, images you see every day on the street and in homes and in tents. And it shouldn't happen in this time and age, really, where, if you think of how much food is being wasted around the world, and you look at numbers and billions of tons of food, and if you look at how many, trucks are waiting by the border, how much aid and food is waiting only a couple of miles away, it shouldn't happen, and it has to be reversed as soon as possible.
So what is needed now? We've had in the last 24 hours this news that the leaders of France, Britain and Canada threatening sanctions against Israel. Is that a start? Do you think, is that the way that other countries need to go as well, or is a lot more needed?
As Norwegian Refugee Council, we really don't comment on sanctions being taken on by countries. What we say, though, is that there has to be accountability, and these countries have to look at, holding all parties accountable to all the atrocities and carnage that we have seen. Israel, as an occupying power, has that duty to open the borders, to listen, and to commit to sparing the humanitarian, conditions, the humanitarian situation, whatever, military events that are unfolding. And if you look at what's happening in terms of relocation orders, again, that's, responsibility of Israel to, make sure that people are actually safe. And it's not, at this stage, I have to say, Israel is defying international law by relocating people where there's no prospect of them returning, or there's no prospect of safety, and at the same time blocking aid from, blocking food from reaching children, starving children who are, in malnutrition and are wasting. So yeah, it has to stop for the sake of the hostages to return, who can, their families have been waiting all this time, and for the sake of the 2 million people now in starvation mode.
Let me ask you as well about the military situation as well. I mean, at the moment, the Israeli military offensive is continuing. We've also heard of these potential plans to split the Gaza Strip into 3. What would that mean for the people living there?
I mean, it would be a disaster. My colleague yesterday was telling me how, patients in hospitals were being evacuated in their beds with nowhere to go. People having to make that decision in split seconds or in minutes to leave with no belongings. It would be catastrophe. It would send people all over the place, as Israel has been doing. It would be, of course, again, an occupation, a violation of international law. Israel has to, guarantee the safety of all these people. And, you're talking about families being cut off from each other, probably potentially children separated from their parents, and all sorts of issues. Aid, how is it going to arrive to people? How is it going to reach people? It's beyond anything we have imagined, to be honest, what's happening in Gaza. And I hope diplomatic pressure from all these big capitals in the world, from the Gulf, from Washington, from Paris, from London, everywhere, it has to stop. And the people of Gaza deserve a much, much better life.
Ahmed Bayram, thanks very much for joining us on the programme today. Ahmed Bayram, media advisor for the Norwegian Refugee Council, joining us there from Amman. Thanks very much.